So it's time for another gardening week video, and I'm just sowing a few seeds and I'll put those up down the side there so you can see what I'm up to, but nothing very fancy or interesting, just in multiple successions basically of radish. And actually yeah, maybe there is something slightly interesting. I am starting my early cucumbers. Now they will live in this conservatory for their whole lives, and I put them kind of up on the shelves so they're kind of out the way but high up, so it's nice and warm and they get lots of light. And as I say, they don't get in the way of anything else that I'm growing in here. And they are a kind of bonus crop, but actually they can be pretty prolific and supply at least Debbie and me and the grandkids with cucumbers all the way through spring, while we wait for our summer cucumbers to be ready. And I'm also just potting on the first of my swift potatoes, and I think these are maybe 2 weeks old, something like that. I'll put the actual date up, maybe they're a little bit older than 2 weeks. Anyway, they're absolutely perfect now for potting on into their final pots, and they are just going to sit in front of my grow lights behind me here until they've got to show a bit of leaf area, and probably about till March, because I won't need that space until I've kind of overwhelmed with peppers, and that won't probably be until April. So I'll also be sowing another batch of these back into the same containers that these came from, and that's what I do basically for every 2 weeks. I just sow 2 little batches, 4 of these, just one seed potato in each pot. And just behind me there you can see the main crop potatoes, and those were sown at the beginning of January, so they're 6 weeks old, but I think they're about 4 weeks from planting, and so they've grown really nicely. And you can see they're starting to draw up a little bit because light levels in here are fairly low, because this isn't a south facing conservatory, it faces kind of southeast I think, which is not ideal, but it's good enough. It's certainly good enough in summer. It's certainly hot enough in here then. So yeah, that is pretty much it for Monday morning. And I should mention that, as always, these are going back into old potato compost pots that I've just harvested actually only a few weeks ago, and they're lovely and moist because they've been out in the rain for a long time, and rainwater is the perfect water for potatoes. And so I'm now going to cover these with dry compost, fungus gnats, or prevent fungus gnats hopefully. So it's Monday afternoon and we're going to have a rainy week, so I thought I would pop down to the allotment and try and get a bit done. And every year I try and do one thing that improves the allotment, and over the years they've accumulated, and it's a nice steady pace of improvement. This year what I'm doing is I'm taking down the old pallet fence that used to be between my plot and Simon and Ellie's plot, and it was all rotten, and basically it was just a weed trap and you could never get into it to get the weeds out. It was just a right old mess. So I've taken that fence down and got the posts out, which was quite a challenge. And what I'm going to do is put new posts up similar to the way that I've done it in the back garden, although it is a bit weavy because it's not a level boundary between the 2 pots. And I'm going to use it as a climbing frame, and I'm going to grow quite sparsely along it because I don't want to shade Simon and Ellie's plot and don't want to shade my plot, because it's going to face roughly north-south. So everything will get good sun on either side of it, but I want a bit of sun coming through it as well. So I'm going to mainly grow up it winter and summer squash, but I'm only going to put a small number of plants in there, as I say, so it'll kind of be like dappled shade effectively between the 2 plots. And I think it's going to look really nice by comparison with what it used to look like. So yeah, so anyway, that's what I'm up to, and got kind of half of it done, i.e. the old stuff taken out, and so hopefully sometime this week I'll be able to put the new stuff back in. So the organisation behind St Anne's in Bloom has a plot on our site, and the lady who runs it gave me this selection of alpines, succulents I think, and I'm going to plant them in the little planting pockets along the top of my pallet fence. It's Thursday today and we are kind of just in the lull between two storms, so just pop down to the allotment just to check everything out, finish off the main structure of my climbing frame for my winter and summer squashes, and I'm really pleased with the way that's gone. And I've just got to put the side battens and the top frame on, but that can be done on a less windy day. And you know, a lot of people who regular listeners to the channel will know that I'm always kind of downsizing every year a little bit what we do, and mainly I'm downsizing the work that I do rather than the harvesting that I do. So I'm trying to increase the amount that I'm harvesting whilst reducing the amount of work that I'm doing, and most of that is down to my kids and grandkids, to be there for them. And my youngest grandchild is 1 today, and yeah, she is a perfect kind of example of why I reduce my gardening every year. I've got 4 girls and 2 grandchildren at the moment, and hopefully more to come, many more to come. So yeah, that's kind of the main driver really in my life, is my kids and grandkids, and allotments kind of fill the gap. So yeah, really happy today. So we're in the kind of lull between two storms. It's Thursday. I was out on the beach this morning. It is horrendous out there. And I'm now on the allotment. I've just opened it up just to give everything a bit of fresh air, did a quick video tour, and now I'm just going to plant radish and got to keep those radish sessions going. Anyway, I'll get that done. I'll show you the results. So here's the radish that I'm planting. I've also bought lots of my onions to the allotment, so tray after tray after tray. These are all salad onions, all my main crop onions and early leeks. Lots. Just doing holes. Pick the last few carrots. Now we're on to these beds. And I've got another one down there. All done. So I'm back home after a wet and windy morning on the allotment, and I did actually do a kind of micro harvest. I'm not doing a main harvest just because the weather's so rough. And I'm harvesting on Thursday, which is a bit early, but when you've got a weather forecast like this for the next 3 days, it's really not very tempting to go out and do any gardening, and especially not harvesting. So micro harvest it is, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. Just a few other little announcements really. First one is I'm not doing a podcast version of this video anymore. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is it's surprisingly expensive to use a podcasting system. And really there's no revenue stream for it because I don't want to take any advertising. And as a result of that, I'm just spending money for a relatively small audience, and I just want to concentrate on the video format. Now, it may be that at some point YouTube offers a podcasting solution for videos, and that would be great. If that's the case, then I will kind of use that if I can. What else? Oh, on the subject of harvesting, we've just passed £1,200 harvested this winter, which is really nice. It's about twice what we managed to harvest last winter. And although £600 isn't a huge difference in the scheme of things, because we generally harvest in sort of £7,000 to £8,000 worth of veg a year, £600 makes a difference when it comes to kind of investing in the plot and making our life easier. So yeah, it's really nice to have that, and it's kind of also a bit of a challenge, isn't it, just to see how much I can get done and how much I can get picked. And just given that I'm harvesting with the same amount of land, it's a kind of what would I call it, maybe evidence really that my systems are working and improving year on year. So let's take a look at that harvest. So here's today's little micro harvest, and most of this is just for Debbie and I, a little bit spare for the kids. So I'll just quickly walk you through it. So we've got the salad onions, the salad bases, and I couldn't be bothered to pick any of the salads from the back garden, so it's just lettuce this week. And these beautiful mixed brassica boxes. There's so many lovely things in there. There's colettes, there's little calabreses, there's little Brussels sprouts, kale leaves, all sorts of goodies. I think this is a unique thing about growing your own food, the ability to make up a box like this, you know, with 10 different types of brassicas in it. You just can't do that in the supermarket. Some little leeks there, some shallots and yellow onions. We're trying to get through these yellow onions as quickly as possible because they are starting to suffer a bit now. This is actually the last of the sunchokes, and then we've got little carrots and oca. That's actually the last of the oca now, and cooking carrots, beetroot from the store, chard, and then more of these little brassicas, and then just some beautiful red onions and some parsley. Oh, and at the back there, yacon tubers and a little winter squash. So it's Friday and it's still pretty grim outside, but the worst of Storm Eunice, I think it is passed now. So I just popped down to the allotment and just opened up the beds just an inch. So it's blowing in from the west now, and so they should be fine. It's pretty bouncy in polytunnel at the moment. We did walk down to the seafront to take a look at the waves, and it's not often that we see the sea kind of lapping up against the sand dunes, so it was quite a nice impressive sight, but the waves weren't too bad, although we weren't quite there at high tide. We just went just at the time when the sun was out. So, hope you liked this quick video. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'm going to go and feed my hungry cat. See you soon.